This is SimNews.TV, and you're listening to the iWeekly Show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the iWeekly Show. Of course, as always, it is the premier place for news, headlines, and analysis on all things iRacing, the premier online racing simulator. As always, I'm your host for today, Mr. Hashtag Do You Mind himself, Jake Sparey, bringing you the rundown on all things iRacing for the next half an hour. Now, I do understand that I am very late with this. I'm filming on a Friday, when in reality I should have been filming on a Monday. But by the by, I've been very busy. I've had a few things that I've needed to sort out before I get to here, but I shall not be covering anything that's happened on the Tuesday to Thursday. That will come on the Monday. So let's get down to action on what happened on the weekend. And the biggest thing that happened on the weekend was round 11 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Questions on whether Martin Cronkey would win the title. He only needed 7 points, I believe it was, to win it overall. And for the most part, he looked very unconvincing at the start of qualifying and not getting pole position, which I think a lot of people expected Martin Cronkey to do on home turf. He made a couple of rogue errors, but ultimately, let's be clear about this. Martin Cronkey, even if he doesn't get pole position, is still the favourite to win most races. So, taking it down into turn number 1 against Greg Ahutu, who gets his first pole position of the season. How often do you say first pole position in 11 starts? Wow. So it just shows you how difficult it's now been at the very, very top of sim racing. But Cronkey takes the lead and eventually doesn't look back, leads every single lap of the race and wins the race and wins the title. And nobody's even come close. Really? Mitchell de Jong was always going to stay behind at Imola. That one was under a second. But let's be perfectly clear here. Martin Cronkey has not been touched this year. Even when he started third at Sebring. Even when he started third, fourth at Monza. Martin Cronkey has been perfect through races. He's made probably one noticeable mistake all season, and that was running off wide at Monza. But he still recovered, he still won that race. Aside from that, he has been faultless. And what he's done every single race is he's slowly pulled away from everyone. It's almost unfair how quick he is. It's beautiful to see Martin Cronkey do well. It is affecting the popularity of the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Oh, wait, look, Cronkey wins. Oh, yeah, let's tune out again. But you can't argue against him. He has proven that he is the best. To win 11 straight rounds, 12 going back to Circuit of the Americas last year. He's a year unbeaten now in sim racing, which is almost impossible to think about, but he now stands with the opportunity to effectively go 100% for a season, which no driver has ever done. The opportunity is there to tie the record with Greg Ahutu for most consecutive race wins, wait for the new season to hope that maybe he breaks that record with a win in the opening round. But being perfectly honest, it has been a fantastic season for Martin Cronkey. And I'm not sure many people would have predicted him going 100% after the season he had last year. Maybe people thought that Greg Ahutu would put up more of a challenge this year. I think there's been a lot of distractions at Redline. But Coanda have stayed very focused and very true to their goals. And Martin Cronkey deserves that title without a shadow of a doubt. But of course, it's not just about who wins the title, because Redline did do a very good job at a circuit which normally they are favourites at. You had Alexei Usiakala return. Hutu gets pole position. Show Thorsten House, the new up-and-comers at Redline, 3rd and 4th. Always very good to see. They recovered. They did a very good job during that event, but ultimately, I don't think that they did enough. Bonnerhouse had to win that race, and he didn't. But, you know, it works that way sometimes. You look at a situation, you think, is there a chance for you to really do anything about it? Qualifying wise, they sorted that out at the Nürburgring, although it is high downforce, which they are known very well for being good at with. But you've got to produce results in the race, and that's where Kroenke's a step above everyone else, because he's got his race pace down to a T. And don't get me wrong, Gregor Hutu did a very good job of provoking Martin Kroenke, sending him to go out longer on the tyres than he would have wanted to go 33, 34 laps on a set of tyres. I don't think either driver wanted to do so. The fact that Mitchell de Jong was closing up behind was probably the only reason they came in. But, you know, the old guard turned to the new guard, and Gregor Hutu's turning 38, or has turned 38. He is at that stage where he needs to think about his career, and world's fastest gamer. You know, he's got that seat. If he wins that seat, he's got a year's contract there. He's financially sorted. Any need to race next year? Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gregor Hutu retire. I've said that for about the last 4 months. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hutu retire if he wins world's fastest gamer. And that's just me. But aside that, House started to drop backwards a little bit during that event. Frank Schothorst showed pace. Very good pace, actually, during that event. And you can't really say that Frank Schothorst has had a bad season in position number 4 overall. He's had a couple of off races. Monza really does spring to mind in the fact that he is better than what he was at that circuit. The fact that he started in the mid-pack and then got taken out at turn number 1, it doesn't really matter. He's had 6 top 5s this season out of the 10 starts that he's had, and getting himself to 3rd in the championship, fighting Marty Piatella, who has been Mr. Consistency all season long. You know, I still think it has been a good season for Frank Schothorst. Average start of 6th, average finish of 8th. That's not bad. That's really not bad at all for what you normally get to see out of him. And I hope that he goes along and he proves it even further. I mean, he got 4th place, beat Bonnerhouse. Alexei Usiakala was 6th, Berryman in 7th. You know, he's still beating some very good guys, and I expect Frank Schothorst to develop even further going on into next year. I think he's a very, very good driver, but sometimes it's not about what's at the top, but you also need to look at what is at the bottom as well, and it is a very interesting bottom of the table. Berryman and Alexei Usiakala take themselves away from the top 30, 23rd and 25th on 138 and 126 respectively. I think that's a very good job from them. But on top of that, it's a very, very close top 30. Mogar Filo, 123. You got Balaz Reminic, 121, who hasn't been finishing races lately. Patrick Holtzman hasn't turned up in a long time, 119. Graham Carroll, who hasn't turned up in a long time, 116. Now you got Bieder on the bubble at 115, who's very likely to jump the pair of them if they don't race. Patrick Holtzman, must note, still has a Class A license, so won't be able to compete. You got Joni Tamala now outside of the top 30 on 111. Tomo Meglic on 109 always looks to sneak in at the last minute. And then you got a driver like Paul Ilbrink, who I don't think many people thought Paul Ilbrink would ever drop outside of the top 30, but he's 33rd with a race to go, 105. Only 11 points behind Graham Carroll, and I see 11 points being scored. 14 points, okay, that's a little bit more challenging, but Paul Ilbrink, if he can pull it out the bag, he certainly will try. But being honest in this situation, P22, not out of the question for Paul Ilbrink. P26, not out of the question for Tomo Meglic. Tamala needs to show up. I doubt he will. Graham Carroll needs to show up. I think he will. Holtzman won't. So I see him dropping outside the top 30, losing his license. And you got Oliveira on 97, who may have to qualify again. The road to pro, if you look at the names who are out right now, who may have the opportunity to qualify again, right now you're talking about a road to pro that sees Frederick Rasmussen, Sebastian Job, Jerome Kreikel, Ricardo Orozco, Tommy Ostergaard. Let's continue on that list. You got the likes of Josh Rogers, Jake Robson, Michael Partington will always be up there. And then you look at the names who are coming off of this series. You got, right now, Tamala could be in there, Ilbrink could be in there, Graham Carroll could be in there. Got the likes of Alex Bergeron, Jorge Montañez always up there, Lucas Gotch, Michael Dinkel if he ever comes back, Riley Preston. You know, you got 15 names that if the series does decide to drop its qualifying, you're going to see casualties. The same way Sebastian Job was a casualty last season for Apex Racing UK. What's the chance of seeing another major casualty come into play? Maybe Vincenzo Amico might decide to go for qualifying again. Andre Borcher might decide to go for qualifying again. It's a very interesting road to pro. And it's going to be an old guard versus new guard situation. And the new guard have proven, especially throughout, that they know what they need to do. There shouldn't be a situation where Tamala doesn't qualify, or Carroll, or Holtzman. They're both quick. All three of them are quick enough. No shadow of a doubt. But it goes to show you, you've got to turn up and race. Beater's done 8 races this season, average finish 22nd, and he's 30th on 115 points. If I turned up and scored 10 points every round, I'd be safe, I think. And that's what drivers have to weigh up. All these drivers who are towards the bottom of this table, if you look at how many drivers from 26th to 48th have done 10 rounds and have maximum score, or 11 rounds, maximum scores to work with. The answer's very clear. Only 2 would have maximum scores to work with. Tomo Meglic and Mo Garfilio. Everyone else has missed more than 1 week, including the drop. That's the shocking part of it all. Ultimately, not everyone's going to turn up to every race, and I do get that. But if you want to be inside that top 30, it goes to prove to you, you've got to race. You absolutely have to race. Ollie Packle has only done 7 races this season. He's P15. Gregor Hooty's only done 8 races this season. He's P8. Chembol Bassi's only done 7 races this season. He's P20. Berryman's only done 5. He's P25. He's not entirely safe. Alexis Yakula's only done 6. You gotta get 10 weeks counted. Otherwise, you don't fight for that title. And you don't get those points. And you don't get that recognition. And you need that in this day and age. You have to go and show it. But enough about that. Enough about that and the gripes I have every single time the WCS comes into town. World's Fastest Gamer Round 2. Circuit of the Americas will be the final round of the season for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. I am surprised that we didn't see more drivers here looking to use it as free practice. But we saw some very good racing. And Circuit of the Americas always proves it. It's Frake Showthorst, though, who takes the victory, takes the advantage at the halfway stage. And Frake Showthorst, for all the love in the world, did a very good job. You know, he did have a B-class drive, effectively, and still managed to come out on top. That was not the best performance from Frake Showthorst. Yes, there was a little bit of luck that Jamie Fluke wasn't having a great day either, but That's the sort of drives that win you races like these when you're not at your best and you still come out with the goods. It's that sort of drive that Frank Schothorst had, and it was a very good one. He botched the start up again, dropped backwards, managed to get his way back through a very opportunist move, contact happening with both Fluke and De Corps. But it's a very interesting race. And you can't say Jamie Fluke had opportunity. He made 2 great overtakes on the driver of Frank Schothorst. A contact at turn 12, goes onto the Astro, decides to sling one down the inside, contact again at 13. I saw a very similar situation in Apex Online Racing between Gunnar Nienhuis and Christian Koch that did exactly the same thing as that. And end in tears on the final lap and disqualification. I was pit crew at that time. I was a spotter. I went Nienhuis out. And he felt really guilty. But that was, I need to get back at you. I've got a chance. And he took it. Fair play to Jamie Fluke. But making that mistake, losing that position again, chance wasted. And I like Jamie Fluke as a driver. It's not often I praise Apex Racer UK, but I have to, because they had a really good package at a circuit they were expected to do well at, and Jamie Fluke almost came out with the goods. Almost. And an almost will always be an almost, but still, Davy De Corps was there, championship leader, had the lead of the race, lost it at the opening stages. Quiet drive to P3. Not bad at all from him. And De Corps looks very consistent, but the issue he's got is the points racked up even higher than last round because of SimExpo. More points coming in means that De Corps now has to do more at Monza, more at Interlagos to get himself back with Frank Schothorst, and that's very interesting. I think that De Corps has improved his game for this tournament. He wants it, but you got to want it more than P3 if you want to take the title. You got to win. We've seen 2 different race winners, and we head to Monza next week. Chance of a third, very high. Honestly, I think we got a chance of a third winner being very high. Monza's similar in some respects to Circuit of the Americas. They got the long straights. Not as many high-speed areas, so I think Red Line is going to struggle a lot more, so you're going to see Frank Schothorst maybe drop back. But ultimately, it has been a very good opening 2 rounds. And I hope to see a lot better of an opportunity. I expect Jamie Fluke maybe to pick up the victory in round 3. Ilka Harpala needs to bounce back. He had a torrid weekend. Michael Partington didn't make any progress in position 10. But every driver in that race made some pretty good statements to themselves. PJ Sturgis. Was it Jake Sturgis? It was one of the Sturgises. I have to look this up now. Which one of the Sturgises would it have been? But anyway, it was one of the Sturgis brothers who had a very good run. Jake Sturgis, it was, who had the very good run. And let's be honest. Let's just take what is going on right now in the World Championship stuff in the leaderboards. Schothorst, De Corps, Partington, Zoran Jonjic. All up there, all scoring. Jamie Fluke's up there. Tommy Osgaard had a very good race in 4th. Arguably the best race I've ever seen Tommy Osgaard have. Ducky doing well. But you look at this top page and something very striking comes out. You got Jan van der Heide, who is always doing races, but never the top ones. But he is winning those races that aren't top. So he's a driver that you maybe have a little look at, Jan van der Heide. David Pacelli is another driver who does a lot. He's up there in the standings right now. Neil Andrews, a driver that I do know and I have seen race, but what's he doing with a Class D license in 14th? Wow. You never expect a D-Class license guy to be where they are in the tables. And even looking down to the second page, you've got David Williams, P31, Randy Shoemake's in there, Evan Lathoris, another driver who always comes up to the fold, Oliveira's 49th. Very interesting championship. I'd like to see what happens towards the end. Partington's kept himself in there. I think it's going to be between Shothos and De Corps. But don't count out Jamie Fluke. He's still there. And if either one of those two run into an issue somewhere, it means that someone else can pick up the scraps. 4 races. 1 retirement ends your championship run. Take a look at Daniel Wensing. Always an interesting situation. But one thing that was mentioned or was hyped up over this week, and something that has excited so many people in the iRacing community, is the announcement that iRacing will be getting LMP1 soon. You can buy those soon clocks from the iRacing store. Soon, we will have LMP1, and that's brilliant because day-night coming along, rain's been announced on the forums. You got a lot that's happening on iRacing's development side, and let's be perfectly clear. LMP1 completely changes the game on the endurance side. GTE was brilliant. Everyone got excited for IMSA now. GTE, I think, is one of the most popular series now. But to be perfectly clear, LMP1 comes in. Porsches and Audis, so there is going to be balance of performance, which is always going to be brilliant, but wow. Not many people thought LMP1 would get any recognition. It does now, no Toyota, but that was to be expected. But Porsche and Audi, before they both leave LMP1, will leave their legacies in iRacing. And it does change how endurance racing is going to be now, because for the longest time that I've known, and before I came to iRacing, the top car in endurance was LMP2, was the HPD, the Honda. And the LMP2 now finally gets knocked off its perch by LMP1. Probably for the new year, probably not for Daytona, probably not for Sebring, I wouldn't have thought. Actually, potentially for Sebring. I could see them do it for Sebring. I can see them doing it, though, easily for the Nürburgring, Le Mans. Whichever one comes up first. So, there is going to be a lot of change. And LMP1 is always going to be very interesting. I think HPD is going to become that middle class. So, what we are going to see is LMP1, LMP2. Go to see the likes of GTE come in as well. GT3 is a 4th category if you want. And then there's the rumour that GT4 may be happening. No basis on that, but if GT4 happens as well, that's 5 classes. That's beautiful. And just looking at the way that it all has worked, LMP1 is a very nice addition. And what it does mean is that maybe we see the World Endurance Championship get iRacing support in 2018. Maybe that does happen. And that would be very interesting because there's a couple of ways you can go about that. Either WEC decides, yes, we want our own championship, we want our own World Championship, do it very similar to Blancpain, but by that point, we want new tracks in, the likes of maybe Fuji Speedway, the likes of maybe Dubai Autodrome. Would be very nice to see. But by the same point, you can also argue the fact that WEC could maybe inherit the World Tours and make the World Tours something to fight for. The World Tours have been great. Great, exploitation of who are the best endurance sim racers in the world at long distance. WEC decide to pick them up. That could be something that everyone has a very close look at, because let's be honest, if you put money on the line for the World Championships, for the World Tours, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will decide, I want to go drive for that. I think a lot of people would go and drive if they knew there was money on the line. I think you'd see the likes of Redline jump on it. I think you'd see Coanda in every race. I think you'd see Core in every race, Pure in every race. I think it would be a very interesting battleground to consistently see, prizes on offer in all classes, basically. I really hope something like that does happen, but of course, as always, it's just speculation from Jake. Who knows? I could be talking out of my mouth. I could be hoping and not getting what it is that's happened, but LMP1 does change the game. It does move the needle, as it were, in iRacing. And I love that phrase, move the needle. What's the next thing that will move the needle in sim racing? And I love it because R Factor were the needle at some stage. Live for Speed was the needle at some stage. You look at, say, even the likes of R Factor back in the day, Grand Prix Challenge or F1 Career Challenge was the needle back in the day. It's about what moves that needle forward. What makes everything push forward? What's the next big thing? Does Project Cars 2 move the needle? And for a lot of people, they say no, it doesn't. It gets close to moving that needle, but most people say no, it hasn't moved the needle. You look at R Factor trying to move their needle, and they're moving their needle quite nicely. iRacing, with all that they've announced actually over the last month and a half, and what they've actually gone along and said they're doing. Day night, LMP1, Ferrari GT3's in. Rallycross is due to be in as well. And then you got the likes of Rain on the way, hopefully. That needle's moving. And hopefully a lot of other people agree that iRacing's needle will take a significant jump forward in the next 6 months to a year. And I hope it does. I really hope in the next 6 months we see a massive moving of the needle. Because I definitely can see that happening. But of course, we try and get it out Tuesdays at 6. I know that the last 2 weeks I haven't been able to do that because of the fact that I have been very busy. I have just moved to university. I have things that I have to sort out with that. Be it money, finance, whatever it is. I have to go sort things out. But we try and make it Tuesday at 6. I'll try and get it done for Tuesday at 6 next time, where I'll be probably talking about NASCAR, World's Fastest Gamer, Petit Le Mans, VLN. It'll be a very busy next week. But if you have any questions that you want answered, message me at Jake_Sparey on Twitter or at iWeekly SN. Make sure that you subscribe for more. I have been #YouMine Jake Sparey, and this was the iWeekly Show.